Hello everybody, it's Rowdy, and in this video, I am going to be doing my first ever review, and this review is going to be for Dan's Reviews, The Walking Dead Season 7 rewrites. So man, what can I freaking say about this rewrite? Well, let me just start off by just Dan, hashtag Dan for showrunner, okay? Hashtag Dan for showrunner. But anyway, let's get more into this. So season 7 of The Walking Dead was definitely a very, very hated season, and though it's kind of the season that I kind of got into the show with, I still see the serious flaws, and it's definitely the worst season of the show. Maybe not of the franchise, because there's Fear Season 5, but we'll talk all about that later. So regardless. So this rewrite really just removed a lot of the dumb filler and a lot of dumb plots. First of all, this rewrite includes season 7 of The Walking Dead and season 8 and 16 episodes, which I think is just amazing because season 7 and season 8 dragged so much, and man, it really just drove me insane. So much stuff happened that really just didn't need to happen. So, a few things to address. First of all, Dan completely removed the Oceanside storyline. Though we did get some stuff with Tara and Heath, like, he didn't just disappear and, like, get taken by CRM. We actually ended up seeing him die, and it was a really just brutal death. And not only is the Oceanside completely out of the story, but so is Jadis's group, which honestly another like relief. They really just did not do much for season 7 and season 8, and the whole like sure like the CRM wasn't really involved in this, but I'm glad and I'm happy with the CRM not being involved because to be quite frank, they were cool at first, but it's been nearly 4 years since we first saw that CRM helicopter, and it just feels they're just drip feeding us info, and they just feel like these generic bad guys. So I'm glad that Dan decided to just remove them from the series altogether. So I just discussed the whole combination of season 7 and 8. Some other stuff to address is that he kept a lot of characters alive who died in the actual show, and some that were really surprising. Now, the first one I'll just go with is actually Carl. And I mean, this one isn't 100% surprising since Carl did survive in the comics. And I wasn't the biggest fan of Carl when it comes to the Walking Dead TV show. He had his moments, and he definitely started growing on me near the end before he died. However, even with my like dislikes of him, he did not deserve the death he got, and it was really insulting to the character. And especially that with Rick having to leave, like I don't know if this was something they planned beforehand, but Carl 100% should have stayed with Rick leaving. So Dan completely kept Carl in. Nobody got his death, which is another amazing thing. And another one, this is the one that I'm like the most surprised about. Glenn. Glenn survived the entire season. He survived the opening scene. Abraham did die, which I mean that's fine. Like Abraham's awesome, but his death makes sense to me, and at least pushes enough characters to want to fight Negan. But it doesn't just push everybody into like this broken state like what happened with Glenn, because that really broke Rick. And don't get me wrong, Rick was definitely broken in Dan's rewrite, but it wasn't as like serious. And I'll talk more about this after. But yeah, Glenn being alive and not only just surviving the surpassing himself in the lineup, he survived the entire season and he had a pretty big role in it. And it just for me really felt a lot better, and it felt like one of the most surprising things Dan did do with this rewrite, especially since meaning Glenn died in the comics. And though I think Glenn's death was sad in season 7, we already had lost Abraham, and I feel like maybe they could do something different and keep Glenn around. It would have been a lot better in my opinion, because Glenn was just such an awesome character, and just I always actually thought even before I saw Dan's series that maybe Glenn could actually what would happen if Glenn was actually alive, and like how would he be in the war with the Saviors? How would he be in the Whisperer War? And yeah, because I thought Glenn would possibly not survive the season when I was watching through this. Like I thought he was gonna get Carl's death actually, which I mean, thank God didn't happen. So good on you, Dan, for keeping Glenn alive. One of my favorite things when it comes to the rewrites. And another character who made it is Sasha, who though her death did happen, that is for another character, which I will discuss after. But yeah, Sasha actually survived this. And one thing I will say is she didn't have the biggest role, I find, which is one of the flaws I will address later in the video. But yeah, Sasha being around is awesome and her surviving the season. And I am really like intrigued to see what her role is going to be when Dan does the season 8 rewrites. So now I'd like to go with for Morgan and Dwight. And now thing is with Morgan and Dwight is though they both survived season 8, they both left at the end of season 8. Morgan went to Fear the Walking Dead and same for Dwight. We didn't see Dwight till season 5, but they both had left the show. And though Morgan's awesome on Fear Now, man was he not in season 4 or season 5. And Dwight, he was fine, I guess, in season 5, but seeing I mean Dwight being in the Whisper storyline, it won't make too much of a difference since it is, the he was there in the comics, so I'm guessing Dan will be adapting a lot of that to Dwight. But Morgan is going to be a very interesting addition to the Whisperer War. Let's just say that because Morgan in the comic, I mean, first of all, he died really early on. He died in the No Way Out storyline. And two, he really wasn't that big of a character to begin with when it came to the Walking Dead comics. And since he has such a larger role in the show, it'd be awesome to see what's going to come when we see him next season. So yeah, we have a lot of characters who were not involved in the actual show or even the comics. Some of them, I mean, Carl and Dwight, yeah, those were in the comics, and they're probably going to be getting their storylines with the Lydia stuff and training the army for the Whisperer War, respectively. But yeah, I'd say it's going to be really interesting to see what he does with the characters. And yeah, and then we have Glenn and Sasha, which are going to be some that are really interesting. Like Glenn, Sasha, and Morgan. Like Morgan, of course, survived regardless, but seeing how their storylines are going to be adapted, since their storylines are probably going to be completely unique. I mean, Christ, Glenn's actually going to be able to see his baby, and I feel that's just going to be super interesting to see. So I feel these season 8 rewrites, the season 7 rewrites were already different from the show enough. These season 8 rewrites, oh man, are they going to be different from the actual source material? And now, next thing I'll address, and then I'm actually going to be getting to the flaws, is what I like with what Dan did. Yes, I brought it up a bit earlier, but he took a lot of stuff out of the show that was dumb, but he kept some other stuff too that was actually cool in the show. Like, most of it, sure, it was mostly dialogue, but what he did is he took all the best scenes when it comes to the TV show, and he took all the best scenes from the TV show and mixed them with the best scenes from the comic. And we had a lot of more comic loyal scenes, which there's one, like we had the whole Tara death, who got Holly's death in the comic. And instead, like, it was basically Sasha's death, but it was done in a different way since, one, it was like in the second half after the attack on the sanctuary where Tara gets captured and I think she's mistaken for Maggie, kind of like how Holly was mistaken for Andrea in the comics. So that's going to be something really cool. It was nice that he remixed that, but these just felt more loyal to the comics than what we actually had. And it's not saying that this was completely comic stuff or show stuff, because Dan threw in his own little elements in there too, his own little scenes and his own bit of dialogue. And I just think overall, all that together, it makes the season work. So, yeah, seriously, good job with that. But now, as much as I hate to say it, we are gonna have to get to some flaws I have. These aren't big ones, these are just, if anything, they're nitpicks. First one I want to address is Tara's death, which I just talked about. Though it was cool that they remixed it, and I felt it made more sense from the character, especially since she just was really irritating the actual season 8. But her death just didn't feel that impactful because sure, like we're looking at the previous seasons, but she just didn't have a huge role in the season 7 rewrites. I find like her death was still like really well done, but I feel like if it was an actual like show, like her death wouldn't have as much impact if she didn't have a significant development before her death. But this is just a small nitpick. And another thing, I said I would get to this earlier. I find like though I understand this is hard to do, there's a lot of times where I feel like Dan doesn't give enough focus to certain characters. Like, I felt Sasha didn't get enough screen time. Um, and it's the same with a lot of other characters. And obviously, you can't focus on everybody, but Aaron could have had a bit of more screen time as well. I find. I mean, there was the whole Eric death, which that's another thing. Aaron's death way like it was way more shocking in the comic, and he basically got the same death in the comic where he just got killed instantly. But yeah, back to the flaws. Well, yeah, I just felt some characters could have had a little bit more screen time, if anything. But besides that, it was like those are really my only major flaws with the series, and they really aren't like the biggest flaws there could be. And I'm sure other people would find bigger flaws that I might notice after, but and again, it's not something that would be easy because it'd be hard to like give focus on every single character for every single episode. And one more thing I'll address is the ending of season 7, episode 16, The Last Stand. It actually ties a scene from season 9. So technically, there's like stuff from season 7, season 8, and season 9 in this. And then we see the ending scene is, of course, we see Magna's group, Magna, Luke, Connie, Kelly, and Yumiko. And they're fighting the Horde, and then they get killed, and then they go to meet Judith, like which was in the show. However, though Judith is there and older, Carl is there too, and he's like in his 20s now, about depending on how long the time jump is, because Dan did not confirm this. And with that, I'm going to be wrapping up this review. Overall, absolutely amazing job, Dan, and just huge shout out to Dan for being really supportive of the channel, and overall just making such an entertaining series. Because going into this with the first episode, I didn't think much of it. I didn't even know there were more episodes. I thought it was a one-time thing. But this is like what got me into Dan's channel, and I'm really glad I found it. And like especially like because when I first started watching it, the first half was already complete, and we were still waiting for the second half. But once the second half started, like at 9 o'clock on Sundays when the episode would air, I would literally act like it's a real Walking Dead episode. I would go into my living room, I would set up YouTube on my TV, and then I would watch it from there as if it was an actual episode of The Walking Dead. So for rating, I mean, with those small flaws that there are, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, and it was 100% better than you know Dan's actual Dan's is the better one, but Dan's rewrite was so much better than the actual season 7 and season 8 because those were so freaking slow, boring, and had so many stupid scenes. They had some great scenes that Dan did keep in, but season 7 and season 8 of the main show were really forgettable. But I feel if what Dan did with with his version, it would have actually made for some really great television. So if only we can only wish that this could be canon. And of course we have Dan who's doing the season 8 rewrite, which I talked about earlier. But it'll basically be covering season 9, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And I'm excited for season 8, which I do plan on doing individual reviews for. I'm not going to be doing just a full season review. It's just that I got into this late, and I decided it'd be easier just to do an overall season recap and review instead of individual episodes. And then there's Dan's Fear the Walking Dead season for B rewrite, which thank God. Just that's all I'm saying. Thank freaking God that he's doing this, and I just can't wait for the future. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the review. Dan, if you're watching this, keep going, my man. And with that, my name is Rowdy, and I will see you guys in the next episode.